Ma'am, step out of the car now.
Officer, this is my car and my home. Please check my ID before proceeding.
I said step out. You're being detained for vehicle theft and resisting arrest.
I am Judge Patricia Williams, a federal judge. Please verify.
It started like any other weekday afternoon. The kind of quiet Tuesday where nothing feels urgent and the world moves on routine. At 2:15 p.m., Judge Patricia Williams turned off the main road and into her upscale suburban neighborhood after a long day in federal court. She had spent hours presiding over a complicated civil rights case. Ironic, considering what was about to happen next. All she wanted was to get home, step out of her heels, and spend a peaceful evening with her family. Patricia Williams wasn't just accomplished. At 52 years old, she was one of the most respected federal judges in her district. She didn't inherit privilege. She earned her life the hard way. She grew up working class, raised by parents who believed education and integrity were non-negotiable. She graduated from Harvard Law, built her career with discipline, and spent years as a prosecutor before moving into private practice. Eventually, after decades of work and a reputation for fairness and intelligence, she was appointed to the federal bench by the president. In court, she was known for being calm, precise, and unmoved by theatrics. She took every case seriously, whether it was a multi-million-dollar corporate dispute or a civil rights complaint brought by someone with no money and no connections. And over the years, she had presided over plenty of cases involving police misconduct and racial discrimination. She understood the law. She understood procedure. She understood the stakes. But none of that mattered the moment she turned into her driveway. Because as her black Mercedes sedan rolled to a stop in front of her home, she noticed something in her rearview mirror. A police cruiser following behind her. At first, she didn't think much of it. Police patrolled the area regularly. In a neighborhood like this, it was often seen as a comfort, a sign of safety. She reached across the passenger seat for her briefcase, already thinking about dinner and the rest of her evening. Then she heard it. A car door slamming shut behind her. She looked up. A man was already stepping out of the cruiser. Officer William Thompson, 8 years on the force. And within the next few minutes, he was going to turn a normal afternoon into what the media would later call one of the most expensive traffic stops in modern American history. Officer Thompson approached fast. Not casual, not relaxed. His hand rested near his service weapon, his posture rigid, his face set in that stern expression that signals one thing. He had already decided what this was before he ever spoke. Judge Williams rolled down her window, expecting a normal interaction. Instead, she got a command. License and registration. Now. The tone immediately put her on edge, not because she was afraid of a traffic stop, but because she recognized the posture, the energy, the suspicion that didn't match the situation. She asked politely why she was being stopped. Thompson didn't explain. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't de-escalate. He told her the vehicle matched the description of a stolen car reported in the area. Judge Williams blinked. Not because the claim scared her, but because it made no sense. This was her driveway, her home, her car. Calmly, she explained exactly that. She pointed toward the house just a few feet away and told him she had just come from court. Instead of relaxing, Thompson grew more aggressive. "Step out of the vehicle." Judge Williams didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. Years in court had taught her something most people learn the hard way. Once an officer becomes emotional, you can't out-volume them into reason. You can only out-document them. So she made a decision that would later protect her. She stayed calm. She took her hands off everything, moved slowly, and stepped out of the car with her palms visible, exactly the way she had seen countless defense attorneys advise their clients to do. And she made a simple request. "Officer, please verify the license plate and run the registration before you escalate this." It was reasonable. It was professional. It made Thompson angrier. He ordered her to put her hands behind her back. She asked what crime she was being arrested for. His answer, captured on camera, would later become a major piece of evidence. Vehicle theft and resisting arrest. Resisting arrest, even though she hadn't resisted anything. Even though she had complied. Even though she had done nothing except ask him to verify facts before moving forward. The moment he said those words, her heart sank. Not because she feared jail, but because she understood something deeper. This wasn't a mistake, this was an officer creating a crime in real time because his suspicion needed a justification. Judge Williams stated her name clearly. She stated her title. I am Judge Patricia Williams. I'm a federal judge. Please verify before proceeding. Thompson ignored it. Or worse, he heard it and chose to treat it like a lie. He reached for his handcuffs. The metal clicked. Her wrists were pulled behind her back. And in that moment, standing in her own driveway, in front of her own home, Judge Patricia Williams became a spectacle. Thompson guided her toward the back of his patrol car while she remained remarkably composed. Her briefcase sat on the ground near her Mercedes. Inside it were court documents that could have confirmed who she was in seconds. Her judicial identification was inside her purse, still in the car. None of it mattered. Because he wasn't acting on evidence, he was acting on assumption. He put her in the back seat, the door slammed shut, and the dashboard camera captured everything. Every word, every refusal to listen, every escalation that never needed to happen. What Judge Williams didn't know yet was that the entire neighborhood had started watching. Mrs. Eleanor Davis, who lived across the street, had been outside watering her own garden when she saw the cruiser pull in behind Judge Williams. She watched the officer's body language, watched the cuffs come out, watched her neighbor being pushed into the back of a patrol car, and she immediately knew something was wrong. Mrs. Davis had lived there for over 20 years. She knew who Judge Williams was. Everyone did. She called her husband, a retired attorney, and described what she was witnessing. His response was immediate. Record everything and call the department now. Mrs. Davis started recording. Another neighbor, James Mitchell, was walking his dog when he saw the commotion. He recognized Judge Williams because his brother had appeared before her in court 2 years earlier. He approached cautiously and tried to explain. "Officer, you've made a mistake. That's Judge Williams. She lives right there." Thompson snapped at him to step back and mind his business. Mitchell persisted. Thompson threatened to arrest him for interference. That threat, captured on recording, made it clear this wasn't about solving a crime. It was about protecting Thompson's ego. Meanwhile, Judge Williams sat in the back of the patrol car for nearly 20 minutes. The cuffs tightened. The humiliation spread. She could feel neighbors watching, not just with curiosity, but with shock. She had presided over cases where people described the helplessness of being detained without cause. She had listened to testimony about officers twisting narratives, escalating encounters, punishing people for asking questions. But it hits different when it's you. When it's your driveway, your body, your wrists, your name being ignored like it doesn't matter. Officer Thompson radioed for backup and made it worse. He reported that he had a vehicle theft suspect, claiming to be a federal judge. He said it like it was ridiculous, like it was an obvious lie. Within minutes, 2 more patrol cars arrived, lights flashing, turning her front yard into a scene. The neighborhood grew louder. More people stepped outside. More phones came out. The backup officers, especially Officer Sarah Martinez, looked confused from the moment they arrived. Martinez had been on the force for 12 years. She didn't have Thompson's twitchy aggression. She had the posture of someone who understood that half of policing is not creating disasters. She asked Thompson for details. His explanation was scattered. He said he received a report about a stolen black Mercedes. When Martinez asked for specifics, who called it in, what the plate number was, what the description was, Thompson suddenly became evasive. Martinez walked over to the patrol car. Through the window, she saw a composed, professional woman who did not look like a car thief. Judge Williams calmly repeated her name, her position, her request. Please verify. Martinez went back to Thompson and told him they needed to confirm identity before this got worse. Thompson refused. He insisted she was lying. He said criminals make up stories. He wanted to take her to the station. That's when Mrs. Davis walked up with her phone. She introduced herself as the judge's neighbor and calmly told Martinez the truth. That woman is Judge Patricia Williams. She lives in that house. Everyone here knows her. Martinez finally did what Thompson should have done from the start. She radioed dispatch. She requested verification. And within minutes, dispatch confirmed it. Judge Patricia Williams was, in fact, a sitting federal judge. The dispatcher's tone changed instantly when she said it, because even over the radio, you could hear it. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a nuclear liability. Martinez turned to Thompson expecting him to immediately release her, apologize, and end it. Instead, he got defensive. He claimed she should have identified herself sooner. He claimed her behavior was suspicious. Martinez had already seen enough to know his story was going to collapse. Judge Williams was finally released after 35 minutes in cuffs and detention. The moment the cuffs came off, she rubbed her wrist. Red marks were already visible. She remained controlled, but the anger behind her composure was unmistakable. She thanked Officer Martinez for doing the right thing. Then she asked for names and badge numbers. Thompson made one last, unbelievably stupid mistake. As Judge Williams gathered her belongings, he approached her and suggested she forget the whole thing. A misunderstanding, he called it. He implied filing a complaint would be unnecessary. That these things happen all the time. Judge Williams stared at him with the same steady gaze she used when someone in her courtroom tried to lie under oath. This was not a misunderstanding, she said. This was a constitutional violation. And she made it clear it would not be ignored. Neighbors approached offering recordings, written statements, support. Mrs. Davis handed over her footage. Mitchell offered a written account. People who had never spoken to the judge before came forward because they understood something important. If this could happen to her, it could happen to anyone. Thompson left that day thinking it might blow over. It didn't. That night, Judge Williams did what she had trained her entire career to do. She gathered evidence, she documented times, she wrote down exact quotes, she secured video backups, she contacted Civil Rights Counsel. The next morning, something she hadn't done in years, she called out sick from court. Because she understood that what happened in her driveway wasn't just personal. It was systemic, and it was documented. Officer Thompson, meanwhile, went to work like nothing happened. He wrote an incident report that tried to sanitize the whole event. Routine stop, mistaken identity, resolved peacefully. He left out the refusal to verify. He left out the neighbors. He left out her repeated identification. But his supervisor, Sergeant David Morrison, read it and immediately sensed the smell of a cover story. Why would a stolen car be driven to the owner's driveway? Why would a car thief calmly provide identification? Why wouldn't the stolen vehicle report be verified before cuffs went on? Morrison pulled the dashcam footage, and when he watched it, his stomach dropped. The footage showed Judge Williams calm and compliant. It showed Thompson escalating anyway. It showed witnesses trying to correct him. And it showed him refusing to listen at every opportunity. By Thursday morning, Morrison was in Chief Rebecca Walsh's office, playing the footage. Chief Walsh had spent 6 years trying to improve the department's relationship with the community. In those few minutes of video, she watched years of progress get crushed. The department's legal counsel looked at the footage and told her bluntly, This will bankrupt us if it goes to trial. Judge Williams retained civil rights. Attorney David Chen, known for winning major cases against police departments. He reviewed the evidence and told her she had one of the strongest cases he'd ever seen. The lawsuit was filed 1 week later. Fourth Amendment violation, 14th Amendment violation, unlawful seizure, racial profiling. The suit named Thompson, his supervision chain, and the department itself. Within days it hit the news, and once it hit the news, everything expanded. Internal affairs moved fast. Martinez's body cam, Thompson's dashcam, neighbor recordings, dispatch logs. It all pointed one direction. Thompson had violated policy, repeatedly. Then his personnel file got pulled, and it got worse. 14 complaints in 8 years, 12 involving racial bias or excessive force, dismissed, minimized, handled with training and reprimands. Data showed he stopped black motorists at wildly disproportionate rates. Search success rates were the same across races, meaning his suspicion wasn't based on results, just bias. And somehow the early warning system designed to flag officers like him hadn't flagged him at all. Chief Walsh made the call before the investigation even finished. Thompson was fired 3 weeks after the incident. National attention followed. Civil rights organizations amplified the case. Legal scholars called it a landmark example because the video evidence was so clear, and the systemic pattern behind it was undeniable. During discovery, Chen subpoenaed years of stop data, complaints, training materials. The department's failures became visible in black and white. Other officers showed similar patterns. Training was minimal. Accountability was weak. The public pressure became unbearable. The mayor announced reform measures, oversight, bias training, and policy revisions. Promises that critics said should have existed long before a federal judge had to be handcuffed in her own driveway for anyone to care. Settlement negotiations began. The city tried to start low. It didn't last, because the footage made denial impossible. And Judge Williams wasn't only seeking money. She demanded reforms. 18 months later, after legal battle and public scrutiny, the case went to a jury. They deliberated for 4 hours. 4 hours. Then the verdict came down like a hammer. $10,000 in damages, plus mandatory reforms that would reshape the department. Officer Thompson lost everything. His career, his pension, his reputation. The city paid. The department changed under pressure. And Judge Williams, still calm, still controlled, did something nobody expected. She used the settlement funds to establish a foundation supporting victims of police misconduct. Because for her, this wasn't about revenge. It was about reality. If it could happen to a federal judge in her own driveway, it could happen to anyone. And the only reason this case ended with accountability was because the cameras were rolling, the neighbors spoke up, and she had the knowledge and discipline to document everything. Sometimes justice takes time, but when it arrives, it changes everything. And if you think this case was brutal, the one in the next video is even more insane.